everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show. It's a Saturday night edition here in from a steamy Northeast, and I'm joined by the ever unflappable, cool as a cucumber looking Mr. Rich Baxter. Rich, how are you?
All right, Gary, thanks a lot. You keep me from not laughing sometimes with these introductions, but I thank you very much. Doing well. The hot stove is bubbling. We were just talking before we started on a big Mets deal that they just announced tonight.
Yeah, well, it's not official yet, but the Mets are apparently talking to the Texas Rangers about Max Scherzer going there. And one of the players that is mentioned coming back to the Mets is a 21-year-old shortstop, second baseman by the name of Luis Angel Acuna. Now, does that name sound familiar to you, that last name?
Maybe the
He
younger brother of Atlanta superstar Ronald Acuna Jr., maybe?
Yes, he is. He's not to that level of he's not as good as his brother, which is to say, a superstar, but he's supposed to be a very, very good player. He's the number 3 prospect for the Texas Rangers. And I don't know if they'll get somebody else thrown in the deal. I'd like to see a pitcher thrown in the deal to come back. Maybe a Jack Leiter. That would be great with his uncle, right here, and a former Met. Maybe the Mets can do that. But from what I hear now, they are working on the money details. Scherzer has an opt-out clause at the end of the season, so he can opt out of his contract and not get his $43 million for next year. Why I would opt out at this point in his career with the way he's pitched, okay, not great this year. I don't think an opt out would be my first choice. I would take the 43 million and hope I could bounce back next year. But he does have that opt out. And after the Mets traded David Robertson, there was some not I wouldn't say unflattering, but Scherzer came out and said that he's got to talk to the organization about this and what their plans are and stuff, which kind of gave you the indication that he might have said he's going to opt out at the end of the year. So uh, they've been working on this deal apparently, and now it looks like it's going to come to fruition. Again, it's a money thing. I would assume that the Mets are going to pay a big chunk of his salary next year, but it will clear him off of their payroll, and that will help not only with the luxury tax, but also allow them to spend money. Rumors are that they're interested in Ohtani. They'll go after Ohtani. You have Blake Snell out there next year. There'll be some guys around that they can fill in the spots, and we'll see. This could be a complete rebuild. They could go and dump some of the other guys too, like Justin Verlander and Jeff McNeil. But that's the big news right now. And Rich, there are other names rumored to be on the trading block. Nolan Arenado from St. Louis rumored to be possibly going to the Dodgers, but he said nobody's talked to him yet. Blake Snell could be traded from the Padres, as they've been a bit of a disappointment this year as well. So very interesting stuff going on in the world of baseball.
Yeah, and as you said, the Mets are dealing, dropping some of their big names faster than you can say boo. And the Rangers are picking them up. I mean, you have the Rangers already have 2 guys with like $300 million contracts, similar to the Phillies, Corey Seager and Marcus Simeon. They added Aroldis Chapman, 100-mile-an-hour fastball thrower for the closing role. They're going for it, the Rangers are. They're making no bones about it. They're taking all the stops out, and they're going for it this year.
Oh, good for them. They've got a new ballpark, they're drawing, so why not? I think it's fascinating to watch and see what else they're going to do. It's going to be fascinating to see what other teams are doing. The Dodgers have been busy already. They acquired Lance Lynn and Kiki Hernandez, Joe Kelly, and Ahmad Rosario in different deals. I know your Phillies are searching for some starting pitching and a right-handed hitting outfielder. The Mets have already traded David Robertson, their closer for this year, to the Miami Marlins for a couple of young prospects that are way down in the minors, but that come highly regarded. People aren't happy about that. They're not happy about the getting prospects, but you have to build somewhere and you have to take a chance and hope that some of these guys do pan out, and if they do, then it's a great trade. If they don't, well, that's the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah, and of course, the biggest name in the trade block is Shohei Ohtani. We haven't heard much about him. There was plans that Artie Moreno, who owns the Anaheim Angels or whatever they're called, Los Angeles Angels, was going to keep him. But then there's another side of the coin that says the chance of him being an Angel on opening day 2024 is about 5%. So I think there's a deal still somewhere out there for Ohtani. Maybe a big surprise is due for Mets fans. Maybe Cohen is clearing the deck, trying to bring in a salary, dumping some salary, looking to make some sort of deal. You never know.
Could be. They apparently they came out and announced that they will not trade him, but I'm with you. I mean, I can't. Why would you hold on to him unless you're positive you can sign him? And the rumor is that not necessarily that he wants to leave, but that he's gonna, look into free agency. So why would you take that chance, especially with the Dodgers right there, with the unlimited funds? It seems, and the Mets with big money, and Philly seem willing to spend. I mean, it. I don't understand, but they should have really imagined a deal they could make. Woo,
Yeah, yeah. So
they
it'll
could
be interesting to see what happens. A couple teams in the mix for Otani, but it's going to be interesting to see if he moves. That's the biggest name, possibly on the trading block. And some deals are getting done. We've still got a few more days to go till the first, I believe, at 6 p.m. I think is the deadline.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And already a lot of moves, like we were saying, but still plenty more possibly to come.
Yeah, the White Sox are definitely selling. I mean, they got rid of Giolito and Lynn, and so they're really in a sell mode. So yeah, there's going to be some teams. Cincinnati's looking for some pitching and another bat. As we said, the Phillies, the Blue Jays, and everybody and their brothers looking for pitching. So that's why you can get at least a high prospect for a guy like Scherzer, who's struggled a little bit, but hey, he is a future Hall of Famer. So there's got to be a market out there, and he can help a young team, and so that's the second Met going down there to Texas. If the trade is made, Jacob DeGrom went down as a free agent signing, and unfortunately had to get Tommy John surgery, so he's out for the year. So, um, but we shall see. We are breathlessly awaiting, us Met fans, by the television and the radio and the phone, the Twitter accounts, to see
Yeah.
when and if this deal goes through.
Very cool. So Amazing that Scherzer all of a sudden brought up the fact that David Robertson was gone. Now he may be gone
Yeah.
from the Mets as well. But let's look at the standings real quick around the league. Baltimore still holding a nice lead by a game and a half over the Tampa Bay Rays. And I actually saw the Baltimore Orioles in action in the last couple days over in Philadelphia for a game. So,
Yeah.
yeah, they're a young group that,
And
not ready for primetime players. You don't know unless you follow the Orioles, who they are because they're not big names, but they certainly can play a great game of baseball. They're 63-40 on the year, and they've found something. All of a sudden, they've jettisoned right on to the top, and there was a lot of Oriole fans in Philadelphia to support them. So they've got the fan base behind them as well.
and that's a great story, especially with the start that Tampa Bay had.
Yep.
Tampa Bay had that incredible start, and now Baltimore has caught them. And as you say, they are a very young team. They probably don't even know what they're doing or where they're doing or how they're doing it, but they have built their farm system, and that's what a lot of teams are looking at now. They've built their farm system. Now, granted, they have been terrible for the last 10 years or so, uh, but they built the farm system up, and now it is paying in dividends. And they had a terrific year last year, finishing above 500, and this year, look at them. They're in first place, and a great story, Rich.
Yes, indeed. Over in the Central, it's the Minnesota Twins with a game and a half lead over the Cleveland Guardians, and that's a division that looks like it's up for grabs as well. They
Yeah.
keep flip flopping back and forth. Records that are close to 500 record are looking like it's going to win that Central Division at this point. And the team that we just talked about a few minutes ago, acquiring all these players, it seems Texas Rangers with a 2-game lead over the Houston Astros, defending world champions of baseball out there in Houston. So Texas and Houston going at it, battling for players and for the best record out there in the AL West.
And the Angels are made some deals as well. They who did they just bring in? Or was it oh, the name escapes me. But
They
they brought
just Yeah, they just brought in a good player. I know that. Artie Moreno made the deal for him. And
oh gee.
they seem like they wanted to buy a little bit there. Even though they're not up towards the top of that division. So Artie Moreno trying to make something happen. Who knows? Maybe he'll keep Otani and roll the dice. Otani's practically that whole ball club, and he leads every category in batting.
he
It's
probably he's
amazing.
probably he's probably the whole American League. He leads everything, I think. So, uh, yeah. But the Angels are only 4.5 games out of first, so I guess they're figuring they still have a chance. I guess we'll look at the wild card standings in a minute and see where they stand in that race. But I could see them staying in it, and Houston could swing a deal with the Mets for Verlander, and he could go home to Houston again, and that would not be interesting. Verlander and Scherzer fighting it out with one another after being teammates for part of a year, but we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, and
Uh,
that was Lucas Giolito that the
oh,
Angels
that's right,
grabbed.
right,
Chicago White Sox pitcher, one of their star pitchers. I just watched a game that he pitched not too long ago. He did really well
yeah.
and traded right to the Angels. So that was a nice move. I wish the Phillies could have done something like that and got a Giolito.
Yeah, well, maybe the Phillies will pull something out of the hat. They've got a pretty good farm system. so they may be able to use some of those guys to bring in a pitcher.
Yeah, that would have been nice. But yep, let's go over to the National League for our little look at who's winning over there. And of course, our favorite division in National League East still being led by the Atlanta Braves and 65 and 36. No let up from the Braves. It seems like they're just going to be on cruise control here for the rest of the year. Philadelphia is coming up to challenge them. They've taken second place, but they're sort of in a distance 10 games back.
Yep. And Miami's hanging in there as well, Rich. And of course, then there's the my Mets, who are floundering a little, though they are on a 2-game winning streak right now, and the Washington Nationals, who were just I'll tell you what, though, with Washington, they have some good young players. They're going to be tough. This is going to be one hell of a division in the next few years, because Philadelphia is still hanging in there, and they've got some good young players. Miami has that young pitching staff, and they're putting the pieces in around them. The Mets will remain to be seen what direction they go into, but they have the money, so you can't count them out. And the Nationals are building slowly with the young players, and have a couple of really good young pitchers. So this is going to be a tough division in a couple of years. And moving on to the Central, there's a horse race there again, Rich, with Milwaukee and Cincinnati.
Yeah, Milwaukee with a slight edge as of the time we're doing this podcast. They're at Atlanta, so that's going to be a good matchup for them. 57 and 47. Only a half game behind is the Cincinnati Reds. They've changed it
Mm-hmm.
up a little bit, um, coming out of nowhere, it seems, and all of a sudden challenging the Brewers for the NL Central.
Yep, and out west, a familiar face, the Los Angeles Dodgers. But the Giants are hanging tough, as is the Arizona Diamondbacks. They're only 4 games back, and the Giants are 3. San Diego 9 games back. Colorado out of it at 18 and a half. And Rich, I think that, to the fans out there, that teams seem out of it and are starting to trade some of their players. Uh, don't be totally discouraged. Just think of the teams like Baltimore and Cincinnati and Arizona and San Francisco, and what they've done with the young players, and how they've come back and are really contenders now. There's always that possibility. So don't be too discouraged.
Yes, indeed. And I apologize. I was just looking at the schedule for the Phillies coming up. They'll be playing the Giants next month. So I was looking at, I'd like to see that game. A couple of those games, actually. So, yeah, as you said, Washington still a scrappy club. Phillies playing
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh. They're very scrappy. They're not that great, but they have 40 something wins. So they're a team that likes to spoil, similar to the Washington Nationals. They know they're not going anywhere, but they still have a scrappy team. So on any given night, one of these teams can beat your favorite greater club. So that's what we love about baseball. And getting back to the timing of baseball, I know we talked about that a lot this season so far on the show. Maybe I've settled into it. I went to a game the other night and I was like, I'm not going to stay the whole game, but it came to the bottom of the seventh, top of the eighth, and I started to leave. I think I'm getting used to it. I'm sad to say, the new timing. I'm not, I don't have that hangover. It wasn't such a shock as it was in the first month of the season. I went to 5 games and I was like, what is this? It's so fast. Now I'm becoming, conditioned to accept this, which I still don't like. I do not like the timer. It's too fast. Baseball was meant to be relaxed, enjoyed. Um,
It
but
is changing the game, though. It is
Yeah, and I don't
changing the
think it's
game.
changing that good. It's rushing things. It's everything's on a timer. It's not basketball. It's not football. They need to expand that timer, and I hope they do that for the off season, or actually for the playoffs. Really.
Well, that will remain to be seen. But it is bringing about some speed in the game, and it's changing the way pitchers pitch, and I think it's going to be here to stay. And now, if they could just do something with the robo ump and get that perfected, because some of these umpires are pretty bad with their calls, then we'd really have something. But I don't know. But Rich, you're changing. You're evolving.
Well,
You know,
I'm getting I'm falling under the party line almost is what I want to call it. You just go to the ballpark now, you expect to be rushed. It's not the way it was, but it's not April anymore. So I'm used to a certain amount of time to be at a ballpark. I used to enjoy that extra time, and now it's just so rushed. But apparently, until something's done about it, that's the way it's going to be. But I've just noticed the last game I went to, I was like, it wasn't that bad, but um, it's definitely something I guess you get used to, just like anything else, which it's unfortunate to me because I still don't like a timer in baseball. Don't
yeah.
care for it at all.
Well, you learn how to work around it. You go get your food early when you first go in, so you get there early.
Yeah.
See, I like to get there when the gates open. I don't
You,
know if you do.
I, yeah, absolutely. But even then, it's like, once the game starts, Um, I used to like to tour around the ballpark. Maybe I didn't see this stand or go around to this gift shop or, in Philadelphia. Anyway, there's a long line to get in the major gift shop. They only have one big major gift shop there. So if you're in that line for 10, 15 minutes to wait, you're missing, a portion of the game. You might miss 10% of the game to go
That's
to
why
the
you
gift
gotta
shop and spend your money to boot.
you get, you gotta get there when the gates open, an hour and a half before the game, so you can do all of that stuff and be in your seat. I learned that lesson when we went to the World Series in 1986. We had tickets to two games. Now we took a chance, but uh the first game and game seven, now we didn't know it was going to go 7 games. It ended up going it. But my buddy and I said, look, the first game, we'll get there early. We'll get in, we'll get all our souvenirs for the World Series that we wanted to get,
Uh-huh.
be it a t-shirt, a program, and then game seven, we go empty handed. We go with nothing in our hands. So that's what we did. And it
Yeah.
worked out perfectly because game seven was a crazy afterwards after they won the World Series. And we had nothing to carry, nothing to worry about, or do I have my bag? Do I have my No, we had our programs at home. We had all our
Yeah.
souvenirs from the stadium that we wanted to, and that's what you got to do. You got to get there early. You got to go. I like to go early, and I've gone early and gone to the museum,
Uh-huh.
and then into the surprisingly enough, the exit of the museum is right into the main gift shop.
Yeah.
It's funny how they set that up. But they do have another gift shop on the upper level, I think it is.
Yeah.
A little smaller, but it's got a lot of the same items. It's
Yeah.
a decent size shop, and of course there's booths around with stuff. But that's what you have to do. You got to get. We always used to get there early. I remember leaving at 10 o'clock in the morning for a 1 o'clock game.
Oh
Everybody
yeah.
thought, what are you freaking crazy? I said, no, we like to get there. We get our parking spot. We open
Yeah.
up our sandwiches
Yeah.
or fire up the grill.
Yeah.
Do a little barbecue there, and be ready at game time to walk in. but
Yes, indeed. Well,
not everybody likes going that early.
you heard it from Gary here on the Baseball Talk Radio Show. And, well, Gary, I guess the next podcast we have, we'll have a recap of all of the moves from the hot stove. We'll be well into um, a race to the playoffs. August
That's
is one of the
right.
most interesting months of baseball. I can't believe it's here already.
I
It's
know.
seemed like the season just started.
It seems like the year just started.
Yeah, yeah. Where's all
Yeah.
this fun we're having?
Uh,
Gone by too fast.
yeah, August it'll be here. And as you said, Rick will recap everything. And before we go, just one other thing uh came out that his agents announced that Bartolo Colon, Big Sexy himself, is going to officially retire. And 21 years, I believe he played 11 different teams. Of course, made a lot of money here in New York with the Mets and the Yankees, but really, uh, the Mets were the ones that really put him over the top, I would say. Uh, he won. I think he was here 3 years. Very popular. Hit his only career home run here, and won 45 games. He won 15 games a year, 45, 44, something in that range. So a nice Met career, although short, and a fan favorite. And he is going to be retired by the Mets on September 17th. So that will be the I don't know if that'll be the official retirement. He probably sent in his papers officially already to Major League Baseball, but Bartolo Colon announced his retirement from baseball. So he's
Very
only
cool.
47 or 45, whatever he is. 50,
Actually,
who knows with him?
I'm reading an article that says he just turned 50 in April.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And he pitched 2 years ago in Mexico. So
Yep. So Bartolo Colon, yep, just turned 50. So that's nice that he's going to retire. They're going to honor him. And
yeah.
I think they're even giving away a long sleeve t shirt to the first 15,000 fans.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bartolo Colon, quote unquote, big sexy
Big
t shirt.
Sexy. Yeah, he picked that up
Long
here.
sleeve,
And
no less.
well, it is September, Rich. So,
Yeah.
the end of the season there, you're gonna need that you keep those long sleeve shirts so they grab you for the winter. So
Yeah,
you're wearing still wearing Mets gear in the winter.
that would be a nice Sunday giveaway there, September 17th. So if you're a Met fan or in the area, you want to get yourself a nice t-shirt, first 15,000 through the gates will get it.
Okay. And Rich, I see by the clock on the old wall, we're running
Yeah.
short on time. So
Yes.
any
It was
last minute things you want to wrap it up with?
I think that about covers it. We'll cover some more stuff with the end of the season, maybe some milestones coming up. Of course, in late August, then the wild card comes into play. I don't like to talk about it too much now because it's something that changes every day, basically, sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll bring up a lot more on the next coming editions of the Baseball Talk Radio Show. And thanks for sticking with us. Tell your friends about us. Hit the subscribe and like button, and follow Gary's podcast on the Mets. You can find him Mets Musings. Just Google that Mets Musings podcast, and you'll find Gary's podcast or myself over at Phillies Talk Podcast with Rich Baxter. And the great Matt Veazey joins me most times. You can find us at baseballtalkradio.com as well. It's the home for great baseball talk radio shows.
And we will see you all the next time on another edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show.
Yes, indeed.